Hey, welcome to November and everything, and I think it was the time change as I pulled into Nazareth. Well, because it's close to the studio.
You mean
I
like
the band reference.
The band?
Hey, Greg, how'd the time change get you?
What's that?
The time change got Greg.
Yeah, what?
But it's that time of the year again. And yes, you know what I mean. Christmas stuff's out already. It was out on Halloween. But no, our great friend Lauren Faggiano is back. You know, we're going to talk about it. But we are very thrilled. Here live and in person after a long absence touring the world.
I got you beat. I'm very, very thrilled.
Welcome back, our good friend Jeremy Grace. Hi.
Hey, Jeremy.
And we're always, of course, you know what we're talking about, but we're going to talk about a few other things. First, I have to bring up just a little, because I know you're a Dead fan, about Phil Lesh.
Oh,
How did, now, is a Dead fan, and I've always made jokes about him because one of my friends played with Phil, so I used to make the joke about what did the Deadheads say after their drugs were up? Wow, this music sucks. but I was used to, like, Michaela and I would argue about Fish of the Dead, and I like them a lot better, but I said a teaser. But what was it as being a fan? What really moved you by them? Because you seem like, you know, they're like one of your favorite bands, and how did you...
I don't know. I mean, to me, once I found them kind of as a teenager, it was, the music grabbed me. It opened up a whole bunch of musical worlds. You know, I was 14, and all I knew was like AC/DC. You know, I mean, that's what people were listening to.
What,
and then all
something else?
Yeah, exactly. But then sort of somebody introduced me to the Dead, and I was like, wait, there's bluegrass, there's jazz, there's rock, and these people are drawing on it from all over, and the music is weird, and it's really great on psychedelics, and
which you've heard,
which was, you know, long time ago.
It took me a long time to understand what they were doing. Like, I was never into them. Like, in high school, I didn't get the album covers and the goofy printing and the skeletons, and I thought, oh man, this stuff is weird. I thought it was like some sort of occult, weird voodoo thing or something.
Yeah, it looks that way.
I think the opposite, though. I think I always tell bands, okay, if they ask, okay, what should I name the band? Do something that looks good on a shirt. Yeah. And part of it was I wasn't even like a fan as like a little kid, but I had a shirt from the House of Guitars because it looked awesome. Right. And they were very fan friendly, where you felt part of something. Where they would do, I think Jerry and them. If you were going to tape record, they would come right up front.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. I saw them at Highland Stadium. Mm-hmm. And the thing was, I was like out from the pot when I was a kid, but. It was fun thing. I just saw like people. It's like there's some bands people just seem like there's like since you're like with the band and you get the feeling. And
well, yeah, it's partly it's like identity formation. You know, I mean, if you discover the Grateful Dead as a teenager, it becomes a way to define who you are to a certain extent, and then that just becomes like it became the soundtrack to my life. And then the music takes over, and you know you realize what's going on, and it opens up these other musical worlds.
Hollander Stadium, see the drugs gone, the secondhand smoke. No, actually, the worst secondhand smoke was during Jazz Fest. I walked into a cloud, and that was by the time I got to Abilene. That was who's playing.
Was that back in the days when you could still smoke inside these places?
No, what it was I was walking there. I came from Canandaigua. I'm walking. I like to walk, so I'm walking down east, and I just got hit by a cloud. And like there's a nebulous cloud. It was like the cloud monster from Star Trek.
Sure, Rob.
And by the
time, I mean, I think the Dead pioneered so many elements. I mean, the fan following, the improvising, the mixture of... I mean, I never considered them an American band until I actually listened to them. Mm-hmm. You know, with the country influences and all this stuff. And they were all really good players.
They were great players. And lyrically, I mean, literally, the songs are beautiful. It just in every way that you can conceive of. Robert Hunter, to me, is like one of the great poets of, of the American songbook.
And the two drummers, I mean, they do different... And they're much more, like, worldy, like I watched some drum documentaries, and Mickey Hart's always in a couple of them, and he's really into it. I mean, all these weird. I'm not into all the weird instruments. I mean, I like them, but I don't run around looking for them, like all these hand drums and all the crazy stuff. Right. But they're all very serious players. I mean, they're not like the stoners that
that everybody makes them out to be. Yeah.
I think everybody just wanted them to be that, but they weren't that.
Right.
Well, speaking of like weird instruments, if anybody's interested, I have a theremin for sale.
What?
It's like new. It's never been touched.
I'll buy it. How much? Seriously, I was just listening to
I was listening to
two theremin play. Oh, okay. All right.
But I think actually the Dead, in a way,
I fell for it.
One of my weird comparisons. You got to be quick. One of my weird comparisons. It would be like reading Ulysses when you're a kid. You're not going to understand it. And when you're young,
I tried to read it last year and I didn't understand it.
It took me 3 weeks and I didn't enjoy it. But it's basically the Odyssey. But if you try to do that when you're too young, but I think when you're younger and you're just starting to discover music, it's going to be a little over. You're going to be like, what's that? You have to be immersive in it. And you have to work your way to it.
Well, that's why I was saying, I mean, for me as a teenager casting around for an identity in the world, the thing that attracted me initially was that, like the social dimension. Like, I belong in this group. This group is different and weird, and who are these people? And so I was attracted to that first, and then it kind of opened up my musical horizons after I started seriously listening to it and recognizing, okay, well then Jerry's in this bluegrass project. I discovered bluegrass through Jerry's Old and in the Way album, so to me, that was like in the long run, it became about that. But initially, I was attracted to it just because I was a confused, pimply teenager looking for a home.
Yeah, like for me, I mean, I was always like Dylan and the band really is close to the Dead in a lot of ways you think. But the big one for me was Tom Waits because I just got the beat thing, and I really got into the After Midnight idea.
Right.
I could just visualize these things.
Yeah, Nighthawks at the Diner. What a masterpiece.
Do you have any thoughts on the Dead, Lauren?
A lot of people assumed that I liked the Dead, so for a long time I was like, I don't. But for absolutely no good reason other than I just don't like to be put in a particular mold. But no, I enjoy them, but I never followed them. I think I was a little bit young. I did have a chance to see them, to go with my friend and her parents, but my parents would not allow me to go.
Oh.
So, and it was one of the last shows, I think, was it in Syracuse or Albany? I can't remember. I enjoy them, but it's not something that I listen to.
How do people actually follow them? I mean, how do they afford to do that? And what kind of lifestyles do they have that they can do that?
I was selling burritos.
Oh, really?
Selling burritos and breakfast. We do 2 pancakes and a slice of watermelon for $3, and I mean it's how I learned about capitalism.
Right.
Really, I mean it's like one of the most pure free market capitalist models that you can imagine.
Huh.
And you sell back in those days. There were other things you could sell too that
Right.
I think when you really want to do something, you find a way too.
Yeah.
But see, I grew up. I remember because my parents were very lenient about going to see concerts or letting me watch movies. And I always tell people, look, did it hurt me? And I'll get a weird stare. But so I would go, I would see Ozzy. None of my friends could go because their parents, he worships the devil.
Right.
Because it was during the 80s with all the crazy stuff there and everything else. But I don't know.
And he dyed his hair. He was a blonde in the 80s.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he was. You remember? He had the leather, the red leather.
And he had a big paunchy belly. He looked really stupid.
Don't we all?
It was just not. He was not the Prince of Darkness. He was the Prince of Clairol or something.
Yeah, I
don't know.
I cringe seeing 80s stuff now for anything like the fashions or anything. Or the one there's the Deep Purple video with Ian's got the hair weave or something.
Yeah.
Just laughing at it. Which, now, switching topics to what we're supposed to talk about.
All right,
a lot of things have been rocking in Geneseo, and bring us up to date a little bit about what's been happening in Geneseo the last few years, Jeremy. And it's turned into a really concert go-to area.
Well, we're trying to get that way. My business partner Chuck Salvaggio and I 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago now decided that there wasn't enough good music in Geneseo, and we had seen this old theater, the Riviera, that's on Main Street, that the owner had just rehabbed, but was just kind of sitting there empty and not doing much. And we just decided, let's see if we can turn. I moved to Geneseo in 1999, and I never had understood why this little beautiful location college town didn't have a vibrant music scene. Why didn't it feel like Ithaca or Boulder or Burlington or someplace? I know it's much smaller than that.
I lived there once a long time ago. I was in between jobs and stuff. I was back from traveling around and playing. Anyway, I lived in a house.
I had relatives
nice
on in Geneseo, so I'm familiar with that. And
so we just decided, we were both, local amateur musicians playing in various projects around the region, and we just approached the owner and said, could we start promoting some stuff here? And he said, yeah, and so we started the Geneseo Jam Kitchen and just it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's work. It's hard. I'll tell you straight up. I've learned a hell of a lot about the music industry, and I'm pessimistic about it. But there's been tremendous community support for it.
I mean, how does it work
really
as far
reassuring.
Did you have to kick back a lot of money to him, or was there a percentage, or how did that work?
Yeah, no. Basically, we rent the facility from him for a really very, very favorable fee.
Okay.
So we have to make our money on the ticket sales, 100% on the ticket sales, and he makes his money on the bar, and then we contribute a little bit to the maintenance of the theater, which costs a fortune to heat and to provide electricity and to keep maintaining.
Okay,
all
that
of
sounds fair.
And so we have that venue, and then we have the that old historic Wadsworth Homestead. Which is our outdoor summer venue where we put on our summer series. And that one we don't even pay rent for. He just kind of has the bar and the food operation, and we have the ticket sales on that one.
Wow.
But I'll tell you the biggest change that's going to be coming for us, and then I'd like to talk about the show that we have coming up this weekend or next weekend, is we finally now have a nonprofit. We've got all that through the IRS, and we're going to establish a 501c3, and that's going to completely change the dynamics of the economics of it, because we'll be able to, more aggressively fundraise, find corporate sponsorships, and bring the ticket prices down further without the Geneseo Jam Kitchen having to take all of the risk and all the loss making, that happens for us. Sometimes we make money, sometimes we lose money. Well, we've learned. I just think in that particular environment, if you don't have the money coming at you from the sale of liquor, you can't make money in this business. You just simply can't,
So I just learned about, because my brother was in a band years ago at Scourge's, and I just learned about this whole idealist in me and the cynic realist about music. It's like the Rush song Spirit of the Radio, about the whole thing, corporate and everything else, and making money and the whole thing. You have to sort of try to balance it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have a mission to bring music to Geneseo. Essentially, we've always had a non-profit vision, but we're trying to run that in a for-profit situation, and that doesn't work.
That Hoochie thing was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, Hoochie was cool. We weren't directly running that. We worked with the town and with Tommy to bring that to Geneseo, but then that was kind of his operation. But it very much inspired us, and it didn't happen again this year. But we decided to try our own festival at the end of our summer series this year, and learned a lot from the Hoochie thing. So I think we're making progress in bringing a lot more music and culture and arts, and we've always been a little bit bigger than music. We're trying to support the local arts community too.
I think that's great, because a lot of times when we're as a band person, you're always going, we should book all these college places, because kids are always going, and then you wonder why Geneseo isn't doing that, because Ithaca, like you say, is it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand. I can't talk about Gen Z and why they don't come out to hear live music. I'm Gen X, and when I was in college in the 80s, that's what you did on the weekend, right? What are you doing Friday? I'm going out to hear live music. That's all you did. But now they have Netflix, they have their fraternity parties, they have TikTok, they have all these options, and somehow the dynamic of supporting live local music just isn't there in that generation.
Yeah, well, COVID set everything back so far.
Yeah, that too.
Everywhere.
I'm reminded of the line from Spinal Tap when they're going through gigs, and the manager just says, add the Boston gig was Don't worry about it. It's not a college college
It's not a big college town. Yeah, that's a great one.
But now, bringing us to our annual great event down there, it's the Joni Mitchell. Lauren, take the stage. Is Meryl Streep going to be there?
Gosh, Meryl Streep walked by me when I saw Joni at the Hollywood Bowl.
Be on the show with us today?
By the way, the show's coming up November 9th at the Geneseo Riviera. And then we're also doing it on the 16th at the Theater at Innovation Square downtown. And then we're going to Buffalo this year, November 20. Is the 22nd a Saturday? I think it's a Saturday.
I think so, yeah.
And we'll be at the Cave out in Buffalo. So
22nd is Friday or Saturday?
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
whatever that
Friday,
Saturday is. So the 23rd. I'm so bad with dates.
No, it's a Friday.
That's what I get for trying to book so many shows. The 23rd, you're totally right, yeah. So the 23rd, we're in Buffalo. And we were in...
you don't want to go on the wrong day.
We were in Naples last weekend at the Bristol Valley Theater. So trying to branch out a little bit and bring this show to some different venues. And this is our third time in the Riviera.
It's the third year with the Joni Mitchell show.
And we just love being there in that space, and it's really beautiful aesthetically, and also just the sound quality there. It's a really great space and a wonderful audience. Yeah.
I like the word aesthetics too for shows. I've been finding I've enjoying that more and more. Then Adriana played that show on East Avenue with the one that was the old medical building.
Oh, okay.
And just the thing was, it was like a solo tour. It was her Cammy Anaharo and Sarah DeValier. And
we went to Ithaca and heard
it was just awesome
at the theater there.
Oh, at the State Theater? Yeah, that's a beautiful
And I just really
theater.
enjoy like the ambiance on it. I just love, you go into this old place and the atmosphere and everything's really cool.
The rehab that the owners of the Geneseo Riviera did is just spectacular. I mean, it really feels like, a high-end vaudeville theater from the 1920s.
Wow.
It's just the everything about the decor. The seating is quite comfortable. The acoustics are fabulous. It's a wonderful room, and particularly for a show like the Joni Show, which is, we put on every conceivable genre of music, from Ozzy tributes to Joni to all sorts of original Americana acts, but for something like the Joni Show, which has enormously complex sound reinforcement needs, because there's horn sections and there's guest artists and there's all this different instrumentation. I just think the Riviera is a wonderful place to see that show.
I watched the thing, I forget if it was on Turner Class. It was on something on satellite or something, but it was all about theaters and how they're rehabbing all these theaters and all over the country, and just the ornate, all the work and that they did, and you wonder how they built these places, and like before they had a lot of crazy power tools and stuff. I mean, you wonder.
Right.
All the scrolling and all that stuff. But anyway.
Well, and I think as a performer, you become almost like a conduit, and it's like an energy exchange. It really does affect me in the space that I'm in, not only with the audience and the people on the stage, but just the actual physical space. And I think you can feel the energy of all of that meticulous time and thought and artistry that went into the creation of the space, as opposed to like, here's a wall, swipe it up. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of times those places were set up for plays and theatrical stuff, so that you had to project. So it was built, I think, with the acoustics in mind, that you didn't have to do it too loud, and there weren't a lot of microphones and all that. Yeah. So when you get in there, you don't have to play your, on 10, you know what I mean?
Right.
You can take it easy.
And I always admit, a lot of times if I go to a new venue, I look at the ceiling, because I've had the problem a couple times, if it's this type of high ceiling, the sound goes boop. And I've just seen that at a couple of venues.
Well, the curtains and stuff help.
I'm reminded of the opposite of the story that Hayes Carl told about when he started out. He played at a bar in Galveston on Wednesday nights, and he said there's like this little stage in the corner.
Right.
And it advertised Wednesday nights, $4 pitchers, $5 wings, and Hayes Carl. I've seen. You ever played those? Like, you've ever played those shows where you go in the venue and the band can't fit on stage?
I've seen
they're down here playing. Yeah. We play both kinds of music, country and western.
That's right.
Well, and the Good Souls that we play with, it's a 9-piece band, so we actually, it's hard to find venues that have a stage that can fit all of us.
Right. Do you have to get your own sound for every show?
Yeah, we have a roster of engineers that we work on.
Oh, okay.
We work with
but is there
different
stuff
shows
there or no? Nothing?
Yeah, they have a house system built in. It's a high quality system. It sounds great. There will be some upgrades, that would be nice to do at some point. But for right now, it's great. Yeah, of course, everybody. There's never a stop to the technological train, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No, I always ask what drew you to Joni first, and I have to first preempt it by saying the first time you were on, I was talking to Alan Murphy. Well, Lauren's going to be on. Give me some Joni Mitchell information. He's like, you have to listen to this album.
Oh, yeah. I would say if you had to listen to an album, I would pick Hejira. But it's tough because I really do love the majority of her albums. I kind of fell off in some of the later stuff because when I hear the synthy things that happened, it just like shuts off my brain. But the content of what's there is still really profound and beautiful. And in fact, she played some of her later stuff when we saw her. But the arrangement was, for me, it really captured me much more than some of the studio stuff. But as far as Joni, I was really into Tori Amos, and my dad had Blue on vinyl, and he says, well, if you like Tori, you should check it out. And so, and I'm listening, and it seems very upbeat to me. And Tori, I wouldn't describe her as upbeat.
No, and I'm a fan.
So it took me a bit. And, songs like Blue, which I don't know why Blue didn't capture me right away, but when I got to River, and I was like, oh, okay, now this is something I can really... And so that night, I literally sat down with the record and the needle and just kept moving it back and learning it. And I've been playing that song ever since I was probably 16 years old. Wow. So that's a song that I have to do at every show because that really was like my intro into her. But and even Joni herself would be like, people are finally starting to appreciate the depth of her music, and she's like, it took him about 50 years.
One interview I read of her with her in Mojo, she is like a perfect curmudgeon. I loved it. It's like she's grumpy. It was great.
Well, but is it grumpy or is she just calling it how it is?
Well, I loved it. I loved it. Though.
Yeah.
That's how I love people just call it like it is.
Yeah,
like that.
I don't consider that grumpy. I think that's what's so amazing about her music is that is so evident in her music. And very well could be a big turnoff for a lot of people because, they don't always like to hear it how it is.
I think more and more, this is like for another show, that I think especially after 2020 with the internet, with social media, a lot of people are just getting out of touch with reality and trying to live like their little fantasies. Like people I know, they're back in high school. Maybe because the world sucks so much now, you retreat to that stuff. But there is reality.
Yeah. And I think the variety of content from album to album, a lot of times you can almost chronicle the artist's life. Yeah. And if they're really having a lot of problems, the songs are going to reflect that. If they just got married and they're all happy or something, that's going to reflect that too. So, right. Sometimes it's interesting to look at that stuff.
And Robert Plant talks on that a lot. Does he? He talks about Stairway to Heaven, where he said, when I wrote that, I was a different person then. Mm-hmm. And how does it affect you when you're poor, struggling, and then you're loaded? It's right. Like listening to Rod Stewart now singing songs about not being able to get a date.
Right.
I've always sort of listened to Joni as being like one of the most uniquely honest songwriters about her experience in the world without being cringe around it. That's the thing she does. She has this lyrical poetry that gets at something really true. Without it, I don't know, I'm very sensitive. There's kind of a folky tradition of first-person songwritings about what people are going through that cross the boundary for me into being like, oh, come on, man.
Without being preachy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Joni just is the first time, because for me, Blue is the album. That's the one that brought me to her.
That's what Alan Murphy recommended to me.
Yeah, and it's just spectacular.
I should listen to it.
The first time I listened to it, I was like, this is a human being experiencing the world and talking about her experiences in the world without it alienating me in some way. I don't know how she does it, but it's just extraordinary.
There's something about, too, I always think none of us should ever be full of ourselves in music. I think that music's way bigger than any musician who's ever played, any performer. It's out there. It's sort of out here for us to grasp. And I think somehow some people, they see things and she could probably sing about this microphone and boy, everything. I'm like, it's a mic. And I would get that for some songs like Sun Volts Tear-Stained Eye once I start playing it after my dad passed. And you could just just the way you could feel what it's about. Or Leonard Cohen for me, a lot of his stuff. And that's sort of my version of Joni would be Leonard Cohen. Who's probably more along the Tory lines in terms of being miserable. But I must say, just because Jeremy's here, it's sort of a joke that I read Beautiful Losers once a year. And he's laughing because he knows where I'm going. Because what was it? There was some article about it that was the worst book in the world.
Yeah. I forget what it was, but one of the Canadian reviews of that book was this is the most filthy thing that's ever been inflicted on humanity. I mean, I'm totally not getting the quote right, but it was
no, I know. I remember it was something it was the most. I read it as oh, come on.
Yeah. But to me, Leonard Cohen has that same songwriting quality as Joni does about really talking about the human experience in the world. And the weird thing about Leonard for me has always been, I'm sorry to sidetrack the conversation.
This is a carnival.
Okay, all right.
That's what we do.
We'll talk about the Giants next.
No, we don't. The thing about Leonard,
we don't torture our guests.
The thing about Leonard is he has this reputation that all his songs are super depressing, but they're not. They're frankly about forgiveness of humans being stupid. It's about forgiving yourself for being human. To me, that's really uplifting.
My view on that is I find them very hopeful.
Yeah.
In a way, there's it's hiding beneath the darkness.
Right. Right.
Plus I sing Suzanne to myself 2 days later after Adriana plays it.
I'm lucky that I get to play Suzanne every time I play with Adriana.
Get her to do Sisters of Mercy, for goodness sake. I mean, the song, not the band. I like them. But now every year you have a great array of guests. So can you talk to us with the people?
In Geneseo, it's going to be Travis Prinzi, Brian Ayers, and Sue Tierney. Sue Tierney she's from Ithaca, and she actually, I knew her before I ever knew her. She figured out the open tunings and made them available on the Joni Mitchell website, because all of Joni's songs are in just these different open tunings that she created. And so it's really cool that we've connected. So she's coming up from Ithaca. And then in Rochester, it'll be Brian and Sue. I know I'm going to forget somebody. Aaron and Ross will be joining us in Rochester. Oh, Aaron and Ross are joining us in Geneseo, too, actually. That's a newer addition.
I think they're just, there's another duo you go see. It's always something different. It's fun. Yeah,
well, and it's cool. She's such a talented French horn player, and so we're utilizing that horn in some of our orchestral arrangements, which will be really cool.
Well, when we had them on the show, I told her I used to call it the Danish horn because I thought it looked more like a Danish.
Yeah. And then in Rochester, Lou Highsmith is going to be actually reciting one of Joni's songs as poetry, which I'm really excited to hear. We have Dawn Thompson is going to be joining us. She's a guitarist and vocalist. Katrina, we're going to have a painter. Not in Geneseo because we take up too much space in the city.
We've had painters on the side of that stage, but not for an act as big as this one. Yeah,
we kind of take up the stage a little for that, but that's okay. It's okay. So it's all different aspects of Joni, and plus, musically, we really cover a broad range. We go from first album all the way through her most, to Shine. So it's over 5 decades worth of music. Wow. That we're going to be covering. We have Corey Owens is going to be joining us on drums this year because our drummer is coming back, but him and his wife just had a baby, and it was the timing of he needs to be home with his family. So Corey's joining us, and he's going to sing on a song. And so it's a great group of people, and the music it's even if you don't know her music, you will come out enjoying the majority of the show, I would say.
It's a good gateway, though, if you didn't. Just like, okay, wow, what's this? I want to go pick this up. Thank you, making me spend more money. But I also think, now, how do you, when you have this huge body of work, and I know there's this more popular stuff, I like always hearing more obscure stuff a lot of times. How do you come about, like, a set list?
Yeah, well, there's a couple that we have to do, right? You got to put Big Yellow Taxi and Circle Game in, and they're great songs. Really, a lot of it comes from the guests. If they don't know her music or aren't as familiar, I pick them maybe for a reason, like I might want to hear them sing something because I'm fairly familiar with her body work. Again, her later stuff not as much, but and so some of the variety comes from that, and it's really kind of selfishly driven a little bit too, just songs that I really want to play. Like certain years, songs just speak to me more than others, so I just try to listen to that muse and incorporate those.
Are there any people sing any battles for the same song?
It's not battles, but there's times when I bring on guests, I'll be like, these songs are already picked.
Right.
They've already been chosen. So I try to be up front. And sometimes if I'm singing a song and I'm there's some songs I'm like, no, I gotta sing it. I'm sorry, But other ones I'm like, all right, I do this show every year. I can let people have a turn with it.
Respect my authority.
But no, for the most part, everybody's pretty cool about And it doesn't hurt that she has such a broad repertoire, it's not like she's lacking for material to choose from. So
that's always I always think you could pick tons of artists, Dylan, Joni. How you come up with a set list because fans are just going to be. It's always that one person. Oh, well, it's a great show, but she didn't play.
Oh, I've already heard that. But you know what? That's why we do the show every year, and I do keep that in mind and bring those songs back.
Well, Tom Petty said it well. It's actually his album, The Fillmore, they played 20 gigs in a month at the Fillmore West. And they did it basically just to go back to be a band. It was like watching them in the studio goofing around. And what he said was, okay, when you're going to the big show, you got to pay for parking, you got to go pay the tickets, go in, go all through. You have to play some song because they're going to expect them.
Right.
The fun part about those gigs is we could goof around, play covers, do whatever, and get back to just why we were musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think even like the cliche Joni songs, I still really enjoy. You know, there's very few songs that I could say I just don't want to.
I will say one thing, in my own opinion, about Big Yellow Taxi. I think the Counting Crows ruined it for me because I heard it 500 times. Sure. But I still love when, at the end, my favorite part of that song is at the end when she does that little chuckle.
Yeah.
You know what? And when we saw her, oh my gosh, she giggled the whole night. It was awesome. Oh. It was just so great to see her live, and yeah, she does. She just giggles throughout the whole night, and then everybody just starts giggling with her. It's like this contagious laughter. That's really cute.
No, but it's some people I like that. I've heard this about Paul McCartney, Paul McCartney, where like you still feel like you're in this intimate setting the way he makes it feel.
Oh,
yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep bringing it back to Joni. Sorry, I know it's Carnival of Randomness.
No, but that's it. Is
yeah. So, yeah, just watching her live and how she reinvents her songs, even before she had her aneurysm, how her songs have evolved. Like a song like Banquet, which is, you know, from For the Roses, and then later she does like this like prog rock version of it. You know, she has really taken her music and evolved just with that. And then now that she had the aneurysm, you know, she's really had to adapt melodies to make them work for her current vocal range, and she just does so beautifully. Like it's really masterful.
She's always, I remember reading a quote from her probably 30 or 40 years ago where she was talking about critics complaining that, you know, when she's performing these songs that everybody knows and loves, and yet she's completely rearranged them. And she was one of the first people I ever heard articulate this, saying, I'm growing. I can't sing the song the way I did in 1968. It's 1975.
Right.
And,
it's
and
a moment
I have
in
to
time,
adapt it. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work for me. It's not honest for me anymore to do it that way. And so for people to critique that, I mean, she was being pretty blunt, as we were talking about earlier. You know, she was definitely, you know, laying into the critics that were saying, "Oh, just play the old hits the way people want to hear them." And she's saying, "This just simply that's not art. That's not, you know, who I am as a human being, and it's not what art should be."
Mm-hmm.
No, it's about growth, and it's like, if you're the same person you were 20 years ago, there's probably something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like yelling at a critic because you use the word derivative every time. Every time you review somebody, you use that word. You know, it's like, yeah.
Go back. When was the first time you saw her live, Lauren?
Oh, well, just at the Gorge in Washington. Well, wait, the date's here in 2023. I have it on my shirt. Yeah, so that was a really magical moment because I kind of was getting into her as she wasn't touring anymore, or she was here, I think, at Blue Cross Arena with Dylan, and I kind of knew who she was, but I wasn't at the show. And I've heard so many mixed reviews about that show, but we won't go there.
Well, Dylan, that's all I'll say.
So when they announced this show, they actually announced it on my birthday, October 20th, that they were going to do it. And I was like, all right, Ken, God bless my husband, because he's like, what? All right, let's do it, you know. And so we packed it up and went across country. And what was really cool is because I've done these shows and I've gotten connected with this group, this is the JMDL, which is the Joni Mitchell discussion list. It's been around since the late 90s, so I'm newer to the group, but they, you know, one of the folks in the group runs her website, and so has an in, and they were able to secure us some, like, ridiculously good seats at cost, which was so cool. And then again, they announced a show at the Hollywood Bowl, and the show was my birthday weekend. I'm like, what is the significance of October 20th? This is like so cool. Like, yeah, I feel like
it was meant to be.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I guess we're going to Hollywood. So, yeah, I saw her a couple weekends ago, and we were lucky enough to be at both shows, so it was great.
Well, I saw her on TV. There was that great program on BBC with musicians where she had the one show. She had the thing that symbolized earth, air, water, and fire in front of it.
Oh, I'm not sure. I have to check it out.
I can't remember the name of it. It's not on anymore, but it was on when I first got the channel. It had everybody on. It was like some kind of BBC show, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But that's one I've never seen. It's funny you mentioned AC/DC. I never saw them. I don't really care now.
They're loud as hell.
Yeah. I've heard that. But I've never seen Joni either, and I think probably that's why, too, during my formative thing, that she wasn't touring.
Yeah. I mean, everything's been on the West Coast. And she just keeps getting stronger and stronger. She's going to be 80. So when we do these shows, the reason why we do them this time of year is her birthday is November 7th. And so we do them kind of as a happy birthday show to her. So she'll be 81 this year.
Wow.
But I am hoping that she'll come to the East Coast for something. Because I think, it's interesting. I don't think they realized just how quickly the shows would sell out. And just what it was just such a beautiful experience for everybody. And you can even feel with the people on the stage, too. Like, it was just a really profound and beautiful moment to see her growth since, she's had so many battles in her life. She had polio as a kid. She had to give her kid up for adoption. She had, I'm sure there's others that I don't know about, but, and then this aneurysm. She wasn't even walking and talking. She had to learn how to do it all again. And so to see, you could actually see on Brandy's face, like the shock and just awe when Joni would hit this high note that she's like never heard her hit before, because her range just keeps growing. Because they keep going and having these Joni jams at her
I'm surprised she hasn't been at the Jazz Fest. At the Eastman, she'd be great.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, she just hasn't been on the East Coast. She's come to, she went to Washington, D.C. because she got the Kennedy Center Award not that long ago. So, it is possible. I'd love... For the powers that be, make it happen.
Right?
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll put the Geneseo Jam Kitchen on the case.
Everybody listening, wish for Lauren's birthday next year.
I know, October 20th. It's a magical day.
Magically, we heard this podcast, and there's this Geneseo Jam Kitchen I really want to play at. You think they'll book us?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Nah, I don't know. Maybe. Could be possibly, too, because of, I take it she lives in that area, that she just wants to sort of limit how far is she going.
Yeah, I think.
And I wonder, and I don't,
as you age,
and I don't want to speak on it because I don't know, but like after going through that, I wonder if there's some health concerns about travel and everything, and I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
But
when she's on stage, she always has her best friend Marcy on stage, and then her physical therapist is on the stage with her everywhere she goes. You'll always see them. So she definitely has a really wonderful support group around her that's doing, keeping her best interests at heart.
That's just amazing, though. Still, even though, it just shows what kind of a person she is to overcome all this.
Yeah.
You could just say, to heck with it, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always found the vulnerability of people, they can talk about these things in their songs. You're, opening up to everybody. You're, giving you don't have to write an autobiography. But that takes just a lot of guts to put yourself out there like that. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and then this is kind of funny. So she performed for Elton John's Kennedy Center, was it Kennedy Center Award or Gershwin Award or something? I can't remember. I'm not the best with details.
I'm terrible with it.
Yeah,
remember concert dates, though, because say you went to that show in Washington and it was the wrong date.
It was on my shirt. I got lucky. I wore the right shirt. But yeah, so she sang I'm Still Standing, but she actually rewrote the lyrics to Elton John's song. She asked for permission, of course, but they were like, yeah, absolutely. And so it's actually one of the songs that she sang at the Bowl, and Elton John was on the stage, but you couldn't really hear him. He was just kind of a background vocal on his own song that she rewrote the lyrics to.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if Joni Mitchell comes and says that to you.
I know. That's how profound she is.
Yeah, what would you do? Well, I'm going to rewrite, so he's, okay.
Well, speaking of Elton John, I dug out this VHS, okay, I admit it. But I haven't seen it on a DVD or anything. But it's the Breaking Hearts tour from 85 or so, and he was still pretty outrageous, but he had the classic lineup with Nigel Olsson and Dee Murray and then some other guy playing guitar, and he played keys and guitar. But oh my God, that stuff was like the no frills, no orchestra, no 8 backup singers. Right. It was just the
straight
5 dudes, you know, and it was just. It's just great because it's he opened up with Hercules, and it's it was a pretty rocking thing. Mm-hmm. And then I like stuff like that because I remember when Mm-hmm. It's always good when you can find these. And again, I will always say I put it on. I had it on a DVD of something previously, you know, with the audio set a certain way, and I put this VHS, I had to turn it way down. I'm telling you, man, VHS quality is miles beyond DVD. I think.
Well, it's still tape. It's analog,
right?
You know?
And it's just fuller, and I don't know. It's just weird. There wasn't all that compression and all that stuff. So
the other part I get about the sounds like about Joni and some artists we follow to stay in our lives and make an impact is that some bands you see and you go, yeah, okay, it's cool. Like when I was 15. By the time you're 20, you outgrow them. You grow in terms of like with her, you're almost like it's sort of like with your life, you're getting older, growing. She is too. You hear these songs. It's not just about riding around when you're 15. It's not like the Aerosmith thing when they're like these guys pushing 70 with like
like Sweet Emotion.
Stuff. That always creeped me out a little about them. I admit that.
You know, I was thinking about that the other day, like with some of the lyrics that some of these guys sang back when they made the songs famous. I mean, do you get the irony now that you can't talk about picking up women now and all that stuff? I mean,
you know, when they were, but you know, they knew their audience too. They were playing like for teenage boys. You know, especially like that. So they're just, you know, part of it's probably, you know, they know their audience, like these like suburban, like teenage boys or anything. But it gets kind of gross though.
Well, there's certain songwriters. I mean, I put Joni and Bob Dylan. I would put in the category of like I'm the generation right below them. I came up admiring the music of the 60s. You know, I mean, I'm coming of age in the 80s, but I'm living kind of musically and intellectually in the 60s. And so I can follow, like, writers like Joni and Dylan are writing about stages of life. And I'm 20 years behind them. And so, you know, I'm hitting this music, and at various points in my life, all of a sudden it's speaking to me as a 50-year-old in a way that it completely didn't as a 20-year-old. And to me, that's magic. You know, when you're dealing with songwriters that can do that, you're dealing with the highest level of songwriting.
Unfortunately, I've been playing the Dylan, the World War III blues song a lot lately.
We're talking John Birch Society blues.
But one of the things like with Joni, too, and if you ever had this experience, I know you've only seen her these times, but like a Dylan or somebody where you've listened to a song 100,000 times, and you go in and she starts playing it, right? And you're like, what is she playing? Because she changes it around so much.
Yeah, well, that happened at this show. Yeah, there's songs like Job's sad song. I didn't pick up on what it was right away. Or Cherokee Louise, she covered. She wrote it, but brought it back. You know, so yeah, there's the different approaches. It's like, what is this? Wait a minute, what is it? Yeah. But then there's other ones. Like the second I hear the open tuning, I'm like, all right, I know what it is. You know? Like she did the song Hijira this past weekend, which she hadn't done at the Gorge, and that was really, it's like one of my favorites. Definitely on repeat for me. So it was really cool, and I know both sides now. It's such a massively covered song, but to hear her sing that song at 80 years old, and Jacob Collier was on the piano, which if you don't know him, he is just he's otherworldly, truly so talented. And Sister Strings was there, and Lucius, and Celise. It was just, and so like just this depth of this wall of sound, but it wasn't like overly stated, but just to hear her sing, I mean, she truly is on both sides. Like she's at this point, you know, and she was even when she wrote the song, which was crazy because she was like in her early 20s when she wrote it.
And yet somehow she's using a language that makes it seem as if she's already been 70, looking backwards. Yeah. That's the amazing thing about that song. Yeah, it's one of those ones that's so widely covered and so well known that it does seem like a cliche until you really sit down and you're like, wait a minute, I'm 57 now, and this song, I'm looking at life from this side. And she knew that at 20. It's like, when I was 20, I was really stupid. I couldn't have possibly, imagined that and been able to articulate it in words. And she could. Yeah. It's extraordinary.
And that's the other thing I've been thinking of, like, in terms of Joni and these, what I always love, any bands I see, you playing, anybody playing, maybe not Greg, but when you see sometimes...
I barely look at life as it is.
The best story I could just story about is when Herb Smith was playing this one song, and he just stops at the end and he goes, that was the best fucking time we've ever played this. It's like magical. But there's those moments where you'll see the musicians look each other on stage and say, something just happened. I don't know what it was up there, but it came down.
Yeah, that like never stops amazing me when that happens.
And that's what we're living for,
Well, he's a drummer, so he's too busy.
Well, no, but I'll play something that just flashes in my head and then a split second later I play it, and it wasn't something I worked out. It just came to me and I did it. And, you know, you lock in with the bass player, and like you're both thinking the same way for an instant, and you're just going, wait a minute, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, you live for that stuff. If you could do that for 3 hours straight, you'd be great, but, you know.
And that's why chemistry is so important. And it sounds like she's got people she has very good chemistry with playing.
Yeah. Oh, she does.
And it sounds like, I mean, for these shows, you have people that are just perfect for her.
Yeah. It's, you know, we came together initially to do the Joni tribute, is how we came together as a band, but not with the intention of forming a band. It worked, you know, and that's why I'm just coming up with the name. Like, they're just really good people, you know, the Good Souls. They're just kind, good people that are ridiculously talented. You know, you don't always find that.
No, definitely don't. Way.
Yeah, so, you know, I feel really humbled and honored to share the stage with all those
folks. Lives of the great composers, well, they're some interesting guys.
Yeah, it's so cool, too. Like, sometimes, like when you're saying, like, sometimes you just get an inclination to play something a little different, but then when you do that and then someone else does it at the same exact moment, completely on the fly, it is. Yeah.
I mean, and they're like, listening and, you know,
cool.
Yeah.
Was there a moment, too, like when you started to do this, where it's like the old Wayne's World thing, where there's a little nerves, like we're not worthy, like we're not exactly tackling that Bop Van Hansen, you know, doing this. Was there anything that sort of like you were just nervous about, or did you feel like you're just really paying tribute to somebody you love?
You know what? This is the first year I don't feel nervous about the shows, to be honest. I've been pretty nervous about them every year, but I think this year, I don't know, there's just something very different about it. And we're doing a lot of new songs, and some of them are really tricky, like moving in and out of different time signatures. And you'd think bringing in a different drummer would but no, it's just, I think having Corey there, you know, it gives the songs a different life. And we love playing with Dom, and we look forward to him coming back. But having Corey there, it breathes a different life into it. And so the songs they feel different this year. And, yeah, I mean, I think I just love this music so much that I think all that other stuff just goes away.
And I think that shows, too. That's the thing. People, and I've had friends who've done, like, some cover band things, but you could see they're going through the motions.
Yeah, you know, and we're not, we're not a cover band either. Like, it's like we really are just trying to recreate this music, some of which is going to sound a lot like the original, and some of it's not. Some of it's going to be our own artistic interpretation. You know, I'm not dressing up to look like her. I'm not trying, you know, I'm just trying to, like, share this music that I love with all of these people.
And I like to always do the distinction between, if you're a cover band, people want to hear the songs as they are. They want to see the look. They want to see a performance. If you see them. Tribute band means you're somebody, like, you were doing your interpretations. You're trying to, like, spread it. So, hey, this music's awesome.
You don't want to hang out with Graham Nash and have his baby right now.
No.
You're not getting the method acting.
Although I did drive by the house in Laurel Canyon.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
how cool is that?
And we went to the tiny store that they all went to.
Right.
You know, so, I did live out some of that, but.
It's like I was at Broken Arrow.
That's a cool area.
Yeah. I mean, I never been to. I went to San Diego once for a music therapy conference. And other than that, I haven't been to California, so it was cool. And Ken hadn't been either, so it was fun. And then to meet up with all of these folks from the JNDL really made it magical, because you're like hanging out, and like everywhere you go, you know somebody, and so it was really fun. It was really fun.
There's that type of bond in music too. Like if I'll be wearing a shirt, and somebody, oh hey, you like that band? You have that instant connection. That's why I met a lot of friends, because I would be just popping in the show. Hey, wait a second, you're going to this show? You know you have an interest already. You know, I think that's like one of the beauties of music. And hopefully in this time, it'll bring people together.
Yeah.
Not that we need that.
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting timing.
No, we're not divided at all.
I've been thinking about that. The timing of the shows this year is going to be really interesting.
We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It'll hugely affect the vibe of the show.
I don't know. I mean, the Vikings game is tonight, so I mean, I know the world depends on the beating the Colts, but
just vote for somebody. Just get out there and
vote for Pedro.
Participate. You own this democracy.
Pedro.
Vote for Greg and me.
Yeah. Vote for Alice Cooper. I don't care. Just vote for somebody.
There was a moment at the show at the Hollywood Bowl where she shared her political affiliations rather.
Strongly?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll stick that. And
We'll stick that.
It was a cool moment. It was a cool moment.
Yeah, it's called free speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything I respect
For
everybody's
everybody.
right to that.
Yeah.
I'm not for free speech because I want you to pay me if I do it. But otherwise, I'm for free speech.
Pay me to say whatever I want.
Right.
But it's always great having you on. It's always great. Good seeing you,
Great to
Jeremy.
be here.
You too.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I
Didn't
always
even
learn
talk
so
food
much.
this time.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
see, what have you been baking? Okay, everybody wants to know. I was going to get the hate mail.
Oh God! Well,
What have you been cooking?
I've
What
been
would
messing
Joni like
around.
to eat if you? What would you
I
serve
have to make her
Joni?
a good Italian meal for sure. Because there's like this Italian restaurant that she likes to go to near her home in British Columbia that I got to visit when we went to the Gorge. We actually went to British Columbia too, and yeah. So I'd make her a good Italian.
Oh,
meal.
you're not like some Rochesterian dude. I get her a plate.
Yeah, probably no garbage plate.
I shared your eggplant scanning thing with people after you said that the last time. How you tell a good eggplant.
Yeah, has it worked? Have you gotten any feedback? Let me know.
I will.
I had a purple one that looks like Jimmy Durante.
But I mean, as I'm going through the store where I'm working, sometimes I'm like, ooh, that one's lumpy or that one's this.
Then you become like the weird produce guy. You see, no, you don't want that one.
Yeah, right. Right.
No, so what? Offer a recipe.
Oh, jeez.
Unless you want to, Jeremy.
You want to
No, I can make an omelet, and that's the end of
Go
it.
stop. Get coffee.
You know what? A real simple one. And so Wegmans sells a pesto. I don't make my own pesto, I know. I'm sorry to disappoint. But it's like in their Olive Bar. If you just take a chicken breast and put some of that pesto on top with some shredded mozzarella and some sliced tomato and make a little tortellini on the side, it's a pretty solid dish right there.
All right.
And
There
it's
you
pretty
go.
easy. Just don't overcook
Sounds
the
foolproof,
chicken.
yeah.
Yeah.
I become the overcooked eggplant person.
Andy, where are you going? He's going out to get
You
one.
guys are getting the here.
What is?
Mine,
No, I just hearing this eggplant.
Oh. Yeah. You got to come over sometime.
Yeah,
I'll cook
invite
for you.
I'm an eggplant freak.
Yeah.
I know, I like it too.
Now, next time we are going to have you just for a cooking
Yeah,
episode.
maybe we can record this at my house, and I'll just.
Yeah, like is there a food and music way that you can have some sort of consolidated show on both?
Yeah, what is? Who is the one? Oh, is it Gene the Special Sauce? The guy, somebody. Is the one Jazz makes the gumbo on stage?
Oh, yeah, Bill.
He plays here all the time. Making the
I
gumbo
can't
on
remember his name.
stage.
I don't know.
So this
Yeah,
show's
I know
been,
who you're talking
This show's
about.
been really cooking. So I will say,
All right,
obviously,
leave us on that note.
Riviera Theater is awesome. Innovation Square is great
Mm-hmm.
too. When I saw Richard Thomas, it's a nice arena. There's
Yep. That's
cool,
a beautiful room and acoustically really nice. The theater at Innovation Square. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I've been
beautiful.
going down
I went to my
there,
first
too.
show there last
And-
spring, and I just was blown away.
Just
by
for
the quality of
anybody,
it.
Geneseo is not far.
It's not.
No.
Yeah,
not
it's
at all.
half an hour drive. I mean, if you live in Greece and you go over to Fairport to hear something, you might as well go to Geneseo. It's the same range.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, and from the studio here, I was looking because I took off for it. I think it's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's really close, and the theater is just beautiful. It's a magical place to hear music. I mean, to me, I can't believe that I get to every weekend hear these incredible, bands in this beautiful venue. So it's definitely worth coming to check out.
Make me more want to move out there,
Yeah.
actually. So very cool and everything. We make sure to say the dates one more time.
All right, so November. I'm going to mess them up now. November 9th at Geneseo Riviera, November 16th Theater at Innovation Square, and November 23rd at the Cave out in Buffalo. So make sure you tell your friends out in Buffalo to come.
Oh, now I know why November 5th is important too. I think they're going to announce the guy who did Godzilla -1's announcing the sequel. Because everybody's talking about November 1st. Must be it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to trust your word on that.
Yeah. Nothing else. Go vote early and often, but I think we're going to have a song after this now by Lauren, maybe.
Yeah, we'll do something.
So it'll surprise you, and Jeremy's going to do handstands during it.
Interpretive
I
dance.
haven't been practicing, I'm
Yes.
afraid.
And Greg's going to be Greg.
I'm going to be great.
Maybe
Yeah,
she'll
I'm going
play
to
my
stand there and go, well, cool.
But it's always awesome when you come around, and it's good seeing you, Jeremy. I'll see you
Yeah,
at your
thanks for
next
having us.
gig.
Tom Waits' thing is coming up in December, so
What is that?
I'll have more on that.
No, say something
Next
quick,
time.
because I love Tom.
Well, I don't actually remember I think his birthday's on the 4th or something of December, so it'll be somewhere in that.
All right. And you're
first couple
playing
weeks.
in it?
Yeah, I'll be a house guy, but
And where is it?
at Iron Smoke.
Oh, okay.
Usually.
Wow.
But I mean, you know, Aaron and Ross are doing a song. He sent me Brian Williams sent me the list today. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I know Aaron and Ross are doing one, and Pete Griffith, and you know,
Tom Waits for no one.
all kinds. That's right. All kinds of people are going to be doing this. So I have to learn. I gotta get to learning some songs. You know.
But as a tune-up for that, go see Joni.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
And thanks a lot for being on. Have a good November.
All right.
Thank
Vote. Vote.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You keep on laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's cloud love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way, but now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed, but something's lost and something's gained in living every